Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel and to the 37th episode of The Rolling Stone. Before we get started, a little bit of housework. As you know, since we started doing these Rolling Stone videos, we've been talking about 3 stories that have been in the news in the past week, and I've been giving my initial thoughts and impressions on them, right? Well, as I'm sure some of you have noticed, some of these videos get really, really long. I mean, some get almost to the 50-minute mark, okay? And no one wants to watch a 50-minute video. You can do that in a live stream where things are happening in real time. Not so much with a recorded video, right? So, from here on out, this is something that we are going to try with the Rolling Stone videos. We're still going to have 3 stories, but instead of them being in one long video, we are going to put each story in its own separate video. Okay? You can go to my channel, and then you'll be able to see that for the week, Rolling Stone number 37, story 1, title. Rolling Stone number 37, title, story 2, title. In this way, you're going to be able to see exactly right off the bat what stories we're talking about, and then you're going to be able to pick and choose which stories you want to listen to. If you're only interested in one story, you can just watch that one video. If you're interested in all 3 stories in a week, you can watch all 3 videos. Gesundheit. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But it's going to make things just a little bit more out in the open as to what we're talking about. You don't have to just read it in the description box. You can just see it in the titles, and then again, you're not going to be clicking on a 45 to 50 minute video, but just a 12, 15, or 18 minute video, depending on all the things that I want to talk about in the story. So that's what we're going to be doing with these Rolling Stone videos moving forward. And with that house cleaning out of the way, let us begin. The first story that we have to talk about is Iran. If you watched our regular On the Stone video on Tuesday, you know that we were talking about the U.S. taking out General Soleimani. Was it legal? Was it prudent? Etc., etc. Since posting that video, Iran has retaliated to quote-unquote avenge General Soleimani's death. They fired a bunch of rockets from Iran itself, which is the first time that that's happened in a while. Iran actually shooting missiles from Iran, because for a long time they've been doing everything by proxy so that they can officially say that, hey, we're innocent, we didn't do anything. So that was an interesting occurrence to show the seriousness of the situation. But what is more interesting is that no one was actually killed in the areas targeted by these strikes. So Iran targeted several military bases in Iraq where U.S. troops were positioned, and no American soldiers actually died, which is a blessing in and of itself. No Iraqi servicemen were killed either. Iran actually notified the Iraqi government a few hours before initiating their attack. So there was no loss of life in any of the areas that Iran actually targeted for retaliation. However, there were 176 people killed in the attack. How does that happen? Because Iran shot down a commercial airline, a Boeing 737 commercial flight that took off from Tehran and was going to fly to Ukraine. And all 176 people on board died. There were, if I can find it here, there were 82 Iranians, 63 Canadians, and 11 Ukrainians, plus the 9 crew members on the plane, okay? And Iran did that. They used their missiles to shoot this plane out of the air. They're saying now that it was an error, that they were expecting the U.S. to retaliate, and then whoever was in charge of these missiles, saw the Boeing 737 taking off, because it hadn't even gained that much of an altitude before it was shot down out of the sky. Which is, just a tragedy. 176 people dead. What is fascinating, if I can use that word, in this story, is that there are people here in the U.S. who are saying that it is America's fault that Iran shot this commercial airline out of the sky. To give just a few examples, Pete Buttigieg, who is still running for president, said on Twitter, quote, "Innocent civilians are now dead because they were caught in the middle of an unnecessary and unwanted military tit-for-tat. My thoughts are with the families and loved ones of the victims," end quote. Representative Jackie Speer said on CNN's Face the Nation, that President Donald Trump could be to blame for the fatal crash of a Ukraine passenger jet on Iran on Wednesday due to collateral damage caused by his provocative killing of General Soleimani. Okay, now, this is how the train of logic on the left is running. We know that Iran retaliated, quote unquote, in where they took down this plane to avenge Soleimani's death. And we know that Trump ordered Soleimani taken out because Soleimani's proxies in Hezbollah attacked our embassy in Baghdad on New Year's Eve, and they had already attacked another military base in Iraq, in Kirkuk, where an American civilian, a civilian contractor, was killed and several U.S. soldiers were wounded. So you would think that Iran is the instigator of the escalation of violence here. But according to these ideologues, no, it's all the U.S.'s fault. Why? Because Trump took the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal. Now, you probably remember that in the late summer, early fall of 2015, President Obama initiated this, what has now been called unofficially as the Iran nuclear deal, which was supposedly supposed to keep Iran from developing nuclear weapons and slowly but surely welcome it into the brotherhood of nations in the world, right? When he was running for president, Donald Trump said that this was, as he put it, a very bad deal. It favored Iran. It didn't really give the U.S. anything except broad assurances. And he promised to pull the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal if he became president, which is actually a promise that he kept. So the logic on the left goes that because Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal, we have the escalation of violence that we see today. Now, there is a huge flaw in this, okay? And the huge flaw is the Iran nuclear deal itself. Okay, let's just get that out of the way first. This is the same Iran nuclear deal that the Obama administration had to lie about, right, to get support from the American people. Former Obama administrative official Ben Rhodes has publicly come out and boasted that the Obama administration created what he called an echo chamber in the media and in the culture to make people convinced that the Iran nuclear deal was a great thing, that this was going to prevent Iran from ever gaining nuclear weapons, which in itself was a lie. And people knew that it was a lie because even before Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal, Iran was already breaking the terms of the deal. How, you might ask? Well, here are 3 examples, okay? Iran, contrary to the Iran nuclear deal that it agreed to, was operating more advanced uranium enrichment centrifuges than was permitted in the deal, in announcing the capability to initiate mass production of centrifuges. Iran was exceeding the limits on production and storage of heavy water, a substance needed to operate plutonium-producing heavy water nuclear reactors. Iran was covertly procuring nuclear and missile technology outside of the Iran nuclear deal's approved channels. Okay? The Obama administration had to lie about the deal to get people's support for it. Iran was already breaking the deal before Trump pulled us out of it. It was a bad deal. Okay? But because Trump took that action, it's his fault, and it's America's fault, that these 176 people were killed by an Iranian missile fired by Iran. That is the chain of logic, okay, that is running down on the left. And there are just a few things, okay, that I wanted to talk about here. Okay, this is first and foremost, this is a very dangerous trend that is being normalized here. Out and out saying that a sovereign foreign country firing a missile, one of its own missiles, and shooting down a plane that took off in an airport in its own capital, is somehow the fault of the nation that this nation over here attacked first. Remember, embassy in Baghdad and the killing of an American citizen, civilian contractor, okay? Taking the side of the nation that actually shot down the plane against your own nation is a very, very dangerous precedent that is being set. The big reason being because it shows not just a lack of respect for your country, or a lack of respect for the truth and the facts, but just a lack of love for your country. I mean, people on the right have talked about Trump derangement syndrome, etc., etc. This, I think that's sometimes too cute of a word, because it goes further than that. The ideas of intersectionality, the ideas that the West is always the villain in these sort of scenarios, because the West is intrinsically evil and imperialistic and exploitative, right? Means that no matter what happens, it is always the villain. It is always in the wrong. It shows a severe lack of, again, not just the facts and the truth, but a lack of love for your country as well. There's a great quote by G.K. Chesterton who said, in regards to ancient Rome, he said, people didn't love Rome because it was great. Rome was great because her people loved it. That's what's being, that is what this shows here. I mean, we're not even pretending anymore to love the country. We're not even pretending that we can all gather around the flag as a sort of nucleus, something that we can all agree on, like what happened in the 40s, 50s, and the 60s, where people on the old right and the old left said, we disagree with each other on policies, and we disagree as what the best course of action is here at home and abroad, but we can all agree that we do love the United States. We all love her as our country, and we all want what is best for her. We just have different ideas as to how to achieve that. Those days are gone. There's not even the pretext anymore that we have that unifying sentiment and idea anymore. Now we are actively, taking the side of an enemy country. And I'm not saying that you cannot criticize your country, right? You can't say, my country doesn't make a mistake. Absolutely not. If your country, right, whether you're an American, whether you are a UK subject, we're going to be talking here about the UK in just a second, Germany, Egyptian, Chinese, Russian, Australian, Canadian, Mexican, it doesn't matter. If your country does something wrong, if it makes a mistake, if it does something evil, then of course you have a moral obligation to expose it, to condemn the people who made that decision and to fight against it. So I'm not saying that you just turn a blind eye and look at your country just through a rose-colored helmet. But in order to actually do that, the old canard, you've got to know the truth. You have to be truthful so that you can know when your country needs criticizing and when it doesn't, because otherwise you just become an ideologue, and no matter what happens, no matter the facts, no matter the circumstances, no matter anything, your country is always the one that is wrong. And these countries, no matter what they do, are in the right. That's a very dangerous precedent. That is a hugely dangerous precedent, not just over here like we were saying, because countries can only survive if their people actually love, honor, and respect them, but also over here, because think about this. Iran just killed, accidentally or not, 176 people. And it is basically getting off scot-free on the left because somehow it is all Trump's fault. Think about this, okay? Just think about this as a comparison. Remember back during the campaign of 2016 when Trump boasted that he could shoot a man in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue in New York City and he'd be able to get away with it, and how people, lost their minds about it. And they had some right to lose their minds, to my way of thinking, okay? So you've got that over there. Remember, Trump didn't shoot anyone. He just said that he could get away with it if he so decided to do so. Now over here, the Iranians, a regime in Tehran which is oppressing dissidents, oppressing women, okay? Women scholars, women activists are being jailed, sometimes in solitary confinement for 10 years in cells that are only, 65 square feet, okay? They are getting off scot-free, even though they killed 176 people, because Trump is in the White House. Trump is in the White House, and that, no pun intended, trumps everything else. It doesn't matter what evil other countries do. Somehow it is all Trump's fault, because attacking Trump, destroying Trump in order to regain power for the American left is more important than actually holding other countries accountable for the genuine evils that they're doing. It is disgusting, and it is, it's evil. Just not to make any bones about it, not to beat around the bush. It is evil to twist things around like this just so that you can attack a president that you don't like and are trying to defeat in the next election so that you can regain your power. That is terrible. That is evil. And there's one other point too. This whole idea that it was that Trump assassinated Soleimani, that it was wrong for him to take it out, that he abused his power in doing so. Okay, this is the solidification of a two-tier constitutional system, where again, we don't even pretend anymore that we have a constitutional system. The Constitution now is just a rubber stamp. And whatever you want, you slap the Constitution on it. Whatever you don't want, you slap the Constitution on it. Right? Or you finagle it in such a way that the Constitution is just your excuse for doing whatever you want. Because if you will remember, and I have to give kudos to NBC for actually running this opinion piece, because an opinion piece that NBC ran this past week actually pointed out that, no, Trump didn't do anything wrong. And they actually even went further than that. They pointed out the hypocrisy of all these people like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, etc., for condemning Trump for what he has done. Because these very same people who are condemning Trump for taking out Soleimani said nothing, or even actively cheered when Obama did the exact same thing in Libya. If you remember that, back in 2011, when Hillary Clinton actually cackled and boasted, we came, we saw, and he, Gaddafi, the old tyrant of Libya, died. Trump has done nothing more than what Obama did in 2011. And so the fact that the left was fine with Obama doing this, but are condemning Trump, okay, it shows again, not just the double standard, because we've known that the double standard exists for years now, if not decades, but that this is the solidification, this is the cementing of the double-tier system, of the two-tier system, where ideologues are very comfortable in saying, yes, a double standard does exist, and we are going to enforce this double standard. Why? Because we deserve power, you people do not. Okay? So that's what the escalation in Iran shows. That is story number one.